What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part 36 of my reviewing and ranking the Grateful Dead's Dave's Picks, their archival concert release series. I'm doing them in order. I'm going to discuss this one, volume 36. Then I will show you where I rank it among the other 35 that I've done. And they just announced 47, so we're catching up, which is kind of exciting. But this is a 4-disc set of 2 complete shows from 1987, the most recent Dave's Pick release, as far as, going later in the Dead's career. Not the most recent release, but the most, as of this one in 36. 87 is the closest we get to, the end of their run. About 20 shows into their post-coma return. Basically, these are really high energy, really fun, really feel-good shows. Like, if I went to this show or these shows and like Jerry had fallen into a diabetic coma, like less than a year earlier, I would be so happy walking away from these shows. Jerry's playing is fantastic. His singing is hit and miss. The band sounds good. The audience reaction is huge. Really interesting reactions in like Brown-Eyed Girl, Brown-Eyed Women. They're not covering the Van Morrison song. Brown-Eyed Women, when Jerry says, and the old man is getting on, the crowd's like, yeah, the old man's back. And like, Jerry's not old. He just fell into a coma and looks old. But that song seems to be about him. Touch of Grey takes on a whole new meaning about I will get by, I will survive. The energy is amazing. It's pretty interesting because this is pre the release of In the Dark, but there's a lot of really positive energy. I saw the band about a month after this at Irvine Meadows. And I was like one of like a handful of people at my high school that were going, like me and a couple friends, and I knew a couple other people that were seniors. I was a junior. But then we went again the following year in 88, the same exact venue. And I swear half the senior class was going, half the junior class was going, knew a whole bunch of sophomore and freshmen. So it was interesting how In the Dark completely changed the landscape. But the energy here has that. It didn't really affect me. Like, I didn't really care. I just knew more people that were going. But the energy here, like Jerry's back, the band's back. It has that same real, just like everything is great vibe that would kind of last through 87 and 88 and 89 after In the Dark got released. For all the complaints about it ruining the scene, it did provide a lot of energy into shows. But anyways, I think that is what defines these shows, is the energy. There are great moments, some great song choices now that we're like, in the 80s and we get songs that we weren't getting on previous releases. But I do think there's really only one truly like wow moment that I would recommend you go check out, other than just like check out the show because of the energy. But there is one single performance that I think is like up here level, and everything else is just really solid and really fun. Short shows, 4 discs, 2 shows. The first disc 1 is the complete first set of the first show, March 26, 1987. I don't think it runs the full like 80 minutes. I think it's like an hour long. Opens up within the midnight hour. Just really fun. Great to hear this song. Sounds good. Jerry follows that up with A Cold Rain and Snow. Really good energy there. I think this is where the show like takes on its character. Like In the Midnight Hour, it's a great opening song, but it's almost like, we're coming out, let's go, we're ready for a show. Had Jerry followed that up with something like a Shakedown Street and then dropped like something that would have an epic jam, I imagine these shows take on an entirely different feel. But he doesn't. He drops A Cold Rain and Snow. Energy stays upbeat. We get a CC Rider. Bob's performing it well. Good energy. Kind of a deep choice there. Then we get a Row Jimmy, which every time it starts, I'm like, this just isn't what this show needs at this point. There's a When Push Comes to Shove later in the set, and I always feel like the two should have been switched. Like, we needed the When Push Comes to Shove now and the Row Jimmy later. But by the time we're done with like the first little instrumental break, the energy is so high. It is so sweet and upbeat, and it really is a pretty, I want to say aggressive, but a pretty high energy Row Jimmy that I'm like, oh yeah, no, this works fine. I'm all good with this. It just sounds really good. We get a My Brother Esau. I think by the end of 87, these would be no more. Bob doesn't seem to be trying so hard. Phil's bass is ridiculous. It kind of just works a little better. I think the song is, they're starting to feel it out a little more, but it's just kind of an awkward song. But Bob doesn't seem to be like trying as hard, and I think that helps the song. We get a fun when push comes to shove. We get a desolation row that is just, again, it's kind of high energy, kind of keeps it up. It looks like the pace is a little quicker. Jerry's got all kinds of nice fills in there. And then we get the one thing I think you should check out if you only check out one thing from the show. We get a ridiculously sweet Birdsong. It's kind of fast paced. Everything they're doing is high energy and fast paced, but the jam is so good. Jerry is feeling it. He's attacking, but not like really aggressive tiger like, just like really fluid lines. He reaches like a natural peak in the jam that is like, I mean, it's all Jerry led, and everybody's just complimenting Jerry, and they're along for his ride. Like, they're like, hey, Jerry's out of a coma and playing guitar like this. Let's just support him. It sounds great. He reaches like a really natural peak where he's just like playing notes and like, now, now. And then it kind of drops down and they don't go back into the song. Jerry starts playing chords and it just becomes like this chugging sort of rhythm where the whole band's coming along. And then they bring that back up to a peak before going back into the song. It's like an 11-minute version, fantastic playing, like an absolutely, maybe a must hear. Like every time I hear this is the highlight of this first show. It is so enjoyable. It works so well. Yeah, really, really good Birdsong. And then they follow that with a pretty good, nicely jammed out Promised Land. Nice, really high energy at the end of the Promised Land. So solid first set. Maybe the best overall set of the entire 4 discs, mainly because that Birdsong is the best moment and the energy just works. No matter what song they're playing, they're doing well, carrying the energy. Second set fits entirely on disc 2. We get a China Rider to open. Awesome segue between China and Rider. Really high energy. Very nice played out. The audience loves it. You can hear the audience go wild. When Jerry hits his solo line in Rider, the being the light, what is it? The one where he like gets it, builds it up. Crowd goes crazy. Jerry growls the heck out of that line. Really, really good high energy China Rider. Like, I don't know if it's a must here, but there's no way you would go to the show or listen to this and walk away disappointed. Very good China Rider. Then we get a Looks Like Rain. Looks Like Rain. It's a Bob fest. Bob's giving it his all. He's doing great. Good Bob version of Looks Like Rain. Then we get a He's Gone. Looks Like Rain, He's Gone was probably one of my least favorite combos of like the late 80s, 90s. They played that a lot. Solid He's Gone, well performed, high energy. Nice little jam at the end that is almost like a playing with some chords and kind of reminds me of some of the jams that they would eventually drop into like Birdsong, like you can hear it on Without a Net, which kind of reminds me of the end of Pink Floyd Sheep, where they just play that like series of chords and then repeat that over and over again. The He's Gone post vocal jam has that energy. Doesn't go on long enough to be like, oh, you have to check this out, but it does go on long enough to provide probably the most interesting moment in the second set. Again, it's kind of short, needs to go on longer, but it is a really, really good kind of like just improvised jam before they go into drums. We got a good drum space. We get a Miracle. We got some strong Miracle energy early in space. Like, Miracle's coming like a couple minutes into space. Can't say I enjoyed this Miracle as much one that I think was on the previous release. By this point, I'm like, okay, I've had enough Miracles by now. It is still a song, never seemed to quite fit anywhere. I almost think it should have been a first set song. I think it would have worked better as a first set song. Maybe as a first set closer. Jam out the end. We go into a Black Peter, pretty good Black Peter. The solo at the end gets some pretty nice energy, but then right when you're like, okay, we got it, we're going, it just seems to kind of run out of gas and jumps into an around. We get the like aborted, I don't like that word. We get that sort of cut off version of Around and Around, which goes into Good Lovin', which I don't like. And then we get the Mighty Quinn for an encore, which is a nice encore. So really, a solid second set. If you're at the show, I think it would have been a good time. But I think the highlight is probably that probably the China Rider and that post vocal He's Gone jam. Other than that, like it's just the song choices that kind of make or break how much you like it. The second show, again, the first set not only fits all the way on disc 3, but they add the first 3 songs of the second set onto disc 3. So it's a longer second set, but I think it's also just about an hour first set, about the same length as the first show. Opens up with an Alabama Greatest Story. And I think this pretty much just continues the trend of the 26 show. Really high energy. Audience is into it. The band is performing it well. I love the Alabama Greatest Story combination. Alabama is a song that would kind of fade out after this as we moved on. But really good high energy Alabama Greatest Story. Love Greatest Story. Love this combination. We get a nice West LA fadeaway. Not one of the most jamminest or most out there, or doesn't have that really sort of epic kind of towards the end jam. But it's nice to hear a West LA fadeaway. Little Red Rooster smokes. Absolutely awesome Little Red Rooster. The combination of that slide guitar, Midlands organ. This is like a, I guess like a heavy, just a lot of presence, just a lot like a, you just feel this Little Red Rooster. This is a really, really good Little Red Rooster. We get a really high-paced, quick Brown Eyed Women. I can always hear Brown Eyed Women. And then, I think I was even mentioning this in the previous video, we get a 24 beat, Beat It On Down the Line. Might be more than 24 because Bob's talking when they start, but really it's like dun 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 dun. Well, this job I got, yeah, 24 beat intro. I think this was the one I was talking about. I was waiting for this to come. I thought it was 27. Might be 27. I might be missing. I don't think I'm missing a couple. But yeah, I don't know why. I love like trying to figure out or like keeping track of how many downbeats they use before they drop into the Beat It On Down the Line. It's 24 in this one. A nice Tennessee Jed, and then a Music Never Stop that does what Music Never Stop's supposed to do. Like Jerry goes for a while at the end. He's definitely into it. I just don't know that the actual jam goes anywhere that other Music Never Stops don't already go, right? But it is good energy. It's a good closer, but I can't say it's a must here. That's the first set. Then we have 3 more songs on disc 3. Touch of Grey. Every time Jerry says, I will get by, I will survive, the audience goes crazy because he has survived. He's here. He's going forward. We get a Samson and Delilah with a really strong drum presence intro. We get a Cumberland Blues. It's high energy. Kind of an odd choice. Never a big fan of second set Cumberland Blues, which I saw a number of in my day. That's the end of disc 2. And then disc 4, we open up with an Estimated Eyes. The Estimated has now become like a major set piece, I think, in the late 80s, where that middle solo has like epic parts. You know, I can't see what happens here, but I know often Bobby would run to the front of the stage and like kick up his leg as they do that part, you know, hype up the audience. A lot of Bob at the end, that nah, you know, a lot of that Bob, you know, theatrics at the end. Pretty nice solo. Again, we're not going places that other Estimateds haven't already gone, but some good energy. And then we go into a really rushed, really fast-paced, like Eyes of the World. We are just tearing through this thing. Once we finish with the vocals, we get some nice sort of melodic kind of playing before we ease into drums. Again, it's just a solid Eyes. I don't know if it's anything special. A nice drums, a really melodic space. I really like this space. Jerry's just kind of playing a lot of really neat ideas. It's not really spacey or out there or crazy. It's just kind of really melodic and enjoyable. And right as space is about to end, he starts playing what sounds like a China doll. Like, I think the crowd even starts cheering because they think it's a China doll. Like, there's definite China doll energy, but then Jerry drops the China doll. It breaks all over the floor, and he starts playing it. A rare post-drums Uncle John's band. Nice middle jam in Uncle John's. They're leaning into that, but Jerry's just kind of playing as fast as he can and just like, you know, leaving it all behind, leaving it all on the floor, leaving it all on the mat. I don't know what the phrase is. Soon as the vocal's done with Uncle John's, though, we slide into a Morning Dew. And this is one of those Morning Dews where Jerry's just giving it his all. Like that opening like ripped, vamp or whatever, that the intro, audience goes crazy, the band's feeling it, Jerry's singing his butt off on the lyrics. All the solo spots are fantastic. The closing jam, starts off kind of spacey and kind of builds and gets kind of in crazy. But again, when we reach that sort of the peak and we go back into the closing line, it's satisfying, but it's definitely not a must hear morning dew. It's just a nice little cap to a high energy show, and then we get a Johnny Be Good for an encore. So not bad performances in any way, shape, or form. Jerry's voice is hit or miss. The energy of the band is fantastic. Lesh is fantastic always. Brent is great. His keyboard stuff is good. Little Red Rooster might be the highlight of the first set. So of the first set of the second show. Both really solid shows, representing 87 well. I think they bode well for a band that's only been back for 20 shows, after Jerry's coma. But other than the Birdsong, the little He's Gone post jam, that's about it as far as like true highlights. Maybe the Little Red Rooster. So I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was a fun listen. Definitely reminds me of the time, this was like my early in my being a Deadhead phase, still in high school. Can't say I was fully a Deadhead at this point, but I went to all the shows, in Southern California. I traveled just because I wanted to see as much music as possible. So it was a really, really, really enjoyable show, but I can't say it's a must hear. And where would I rank it? Right there, all the way back at number 32. I have it above those 278 shows. Just because I do think some of the set choices, I think that Birdsong is so fantastic, it can elevate it. And those 71s, which tend to also just be a lot of songs played well. But I think the Birdsong on here, I think some of the song choices, Jerry's just all around positive energy, the audience energy, all that kind of elevates it to number 32. But yeah, I'd put it at the back of the back of the pack. I'm happy they released 87 stuff. Love that they released it. Again, it's not a bad listen. It's at number 32 because there's 30 other ones it has to compete with. And it just can't at this point. But anyways, that's what I got for this. Yeah, so let me know if you've checked this out, what your thoughts are on this. Yeah, go listen to this. It's great. It's enjoyable. It's fun. It's a good representation of what 87, early 88 Dead were doing. I think in like late 88, things started to get really, really interesting again for a couple years, 89, 90, even some moments in 91 before it became a little more inconsistent from there on out. But they're ramping back up to good stuff here. But anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, leave your comments, please. Love to know what people think about these shows. And go listen to this Birdsong. If you can find the Birdsong from March 26, 1987 out there, it's just a standalone upload. Check it out. Really, really, really good Birdsong. But anyways, thanks for watching. That's all I got right now. Peace and stay cool, I guess, because it's going to be 109 today in Texas. Ugh, it's miserable. At least we're not in Phoenix, though, which is like 120. But anyways, thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.